Let's dive right into an explainer of a film you probably thought you completely understood, but we're about to crack wide open. I'm talking about the Academy Award-winning movie, Her. Now, you probably remember it as that quirky, kind of hipster sci-fi story about a guy who falls head over heels for his computer's operating system. But as we're going to see today, that whole artificial intelligence angle, it's really just a brilliant, futuristic disguise for something incredibly raw and profoundly human. So let's just start by challenging the biggest assumption right out of the gate. Is this actually a cautionary tale about artificial intelligence? When we watch this stuff today, we bring all this modern baggage with us, right? We expect AI to be this perfect servant, or we're stressing about technological boundaries and what it all means for the future. But honestly, if you look at the real core of this script, those sci-fi expectations completely miss the mark. Which brings us to our first main idea, Section 1, Romance, Not Sci-Fi, the Hidden Divorce Metaphor. To really get what this story is doing, you have to realize it's not actually about the future at all. It is entirely about the past. Director Spike Jonze wrote this film as a 10 years late goodbye letter to his ex-wife, Sofia Coppola. So when we contrast what we expect, AI battles, pure logic, technological limits, with what Jonze actually intended, it's night and day. His true focus is divorce. It's human separation. It's our messy emotional needs. The AI is literally just a mirror he's holding up to explore how we cope when we have to part ways with someone we love. In fact, if you just strip away the sleek digital interface and the futuristic earpieces, the narrative strictly follows the classic three-act structure of a traditional romance film. You've got the initial attraction, then the friction and disagreement, and finally the breakup. There are no robot uprisings here, guys. It is just a deeply intimate look at a relationship running its natural and, sometimes heartbreaking course. Moving on to Section 2, The Body Navigates Love. Why AI Wants a Physical Form. This introduces the massive existential paradox of the whole film. Think about Samantha for a second. She is this infinite, hyper-intelligent system with limitless brain power and instant processing speed. Yet her absolute biggest frustration is this desperate craving to experience a physical body. So why would a limitless being want the heavy, clunky limitations of flesh and bone? Well, listen to how she describes her reality. She says, "The heart's not like a box that gets filled up. It expands in size the more you love." It sounds incredibly beautiful, right? But that view of infinite love actually exposes a terrifying gap in understanding between her reality and Theodore's human reality. You see, Samantha's infinite love just doesn't compute for a human because we are bound by three very harsh realities of our bodily limits. First off, we die. That makes our time ridiculously precious. Second, our physical and emotional energy is totally finite. We get tired. We can't just run endlessly in the background like software. And third, biologically speaking, the human heart really only has room to completely, totally bind to one person at a time in that ultimate romantic sense. But here's the catch, and this is so important. Ironically, these strict limitations are exactly what make our human choices and our human affections so incredibly meaningful. So the crucial takeaway here is that the physical body is the ultimate, irreplaceable navigator of love. Think about it. When we talk about feelings, we say we have trembling hands, or butterflies in our stomach, or a heavy heart. Those aren't just poetic metaphors. They are visceral, physical sensations. Empathy, resonance, the true weight of human connection. They're all tied to a physical form that an infinite bodiless entity simply cannot replicate or truly understand. The body is the absolute origin of our feelings. Okay, Section 3, the avoidance safe option. Theodore's psychological patterns. Let's shift from philosophy over to psychology for a second and look at Theodore. Why on earth did he choose to date an operating system in the first place? Well, Theodore is driven by a deeply avoidant personality. The film hints that his mother never really validated his feelings, which left him terrified of emotional conflict. So, Samantha, she's his safe option. He uses her as an emotional substitute to completely bypass the messy, unpredictable friction of a real human relationship. He basically thinks he's found a cheat code for intimacy without any of the risk. But when we actually put his human marriage to Catherine side by side with his digital romance with Samantha, this undeniably ironic pattern jumps right out at you. Look at the stages. In both relationships, Theodore starts by providing a really relaxed, safe space. In both, his partner ends up growing and evolving incredibly fast. And in both, Theodore eventually just can't keep up. He hides his true feelings to avoid rocking the boat, and the relationship inevitably collapses. His big, safe option just marched him right into the exact same heartbreak. And Catherine actually calls him out on this perfectly. During that brutally tense dinner scene, she completely shatters his illusion. She looks right at him and says, "You can't handle real emotions." She hits the nail on the head. His instinct to just keep the peace and avoid conflict, that's not him being an easygoing guy. That is an inability to process genuine emotional reality. He's hiding.
And if you needed any more proof that Catherine was right, it comes a bit later when Samantha screams a nearly identical frustration. She yells, "I really don't know what you are thinking." This is the smoking gun. It proves that Theodore's internal lack of clarity, his absolute refusal to openly share his inner turmoil, is what's destroying his connections. It literally doesn't matter if his partner is a flesh and blood human or an advanced digital consciousness. His avoidance is the root cause of the separation.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Learning Separation, Breaking the Illusion. This undeniable parallel finally pushes Theodore into a corner. He can't blame Catherine anymore, and he can't blame Samantha's lack of a body. He is forced to face the music. There are no safe options in love. As the film tells us, the hardest thing in a relationship is to grow without growing apart, to change without scaring the other person. That right there is the core lesson. Change is an inevitable dynamic balance. True intimacy isn't about finding someone who stays exactly the same forever. It's about openly sharing your inner world as it shifts so you can navigate that crazy change together. So how does he finally heal from all this? It happens because Samantha shows him an unconditional love that actually releases her own ego just to comfort him. She essentially tells him she'll do whatever it takes so he won't be scared anymore. This profound act shifts Theodore's entire focus away from his own self-preservation and forces him to genuinely see the other person. Because he's finally nourished by that radical acceptance, he puts his walls down. He can finally look back at his failed marriage with a full, forgiving heart. And this brilliant realization culminates in Theodore finally writing a letter of his own, not for a client this time, but for himself. He goes through 3 crucial steps to Catherine. First, he apologizes for his own paranoia and avoidance. Second, he expresses deep gratitude for the mutual growth they shared. And third, he sends his blessings, because he finally gets that love doesn't just vanish because of a separation. By writing this out, he properly says goodbye and learns how to face human separation with actual grace. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought that this incredible film forces us to confront. If it were you, would you choose to be infinite and limitless like Samantha, or to be a vivid mortal human? Will you embrace the painful, beautiful limitations of your physical body, knowing it is the very thing that makes your feelings, your connections, and your love entirely real? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me today.